our second session, and we had an intake session last week, and we're going to be continuing what we were doing last week from this week. How is it to come back today?
Well, I'm a little nervous, actually. I am thinking about it all week, coming back here today, and I don't know, we talked about so much stuff last week. You asked me so many questions, and I've been thinking, gosh, do you know what's wrong with me? When I come in, am I going to find out what my problem is? And it kind of, I don't know, makes me a little nervous.
Yeah. And we did cover a whole lot last week. Not only did we talk about why you were here and what it was like to come here, and, started to work on some goals, but there were many things we had to talk about, like confidentiality and informed consent. So I realized that could be a little bit overwhelming at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that stuff isn't so much, I don't think that's what's really getting to me. It's kind of, I'm wondering what we're going to do now. I'm going to come in and we're going to talk, and I just don't know how that's going to really make anything better. And I'm really wondering, if you know what's going on with me.
Yeah. Well, I think talking for some people is new, and sometimes it helps just to hear your voice or to have somebody else listen to you.
Okay. So, what do you want me to do?
Well, one thing, I gave you some material last week about counseling, informed consent brochure, and I asked you maybe you could look it over and see if you had questions. I want to be sure that you know what we're doing here and how we're working here. And any questions you have at all about how we work, what your job is, my job is, I really want to have us talk about that.
Okay. Well, the way I was thinking about it was that I would come in, talk to you about some things, and then maybe you could tell me where I need to go or what I need to do next, and then I would do those things. And the papers you gave me seem pretty straightforward, and so I'm ready to do whatever it is that you need me to do.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're kind of making me almost the expert, and that I'll have answers. And I hope you heard last week, but I want to reinforce that this week, that this will be a collaborative piece of work. That we'll really be working as a partnership here.
Okay. So what do you need me to do then?
I'm going to take a lot of my clues from you in terms of what you think you want and where you're struggling in your life. So, each session I'll be asking you to think about what it is you might want. So you be asked to do some reflection after each session.
Okay.
How does that sound?
I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that.
Yeah. A few minutes ago you said you were nervous when we started and anxious. Where are you with that at this moment?
Still a little nervous, but it's getting better. I think the more that we talk, I kind of start to relax a little bit. I remember last week I was really nervous, but by the end I felt pretty good.
Right. And do you have any sense of what your nervousness might be about?
Well, kind of hard to say. I think one thing that I'm nervous about is I don't know what you're going to find out about me, what you're going to learn about me, and how I'm going to be able to, react or respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe I'm a little afraid that I'm going to find something out about myself that I don't like.
Yeah. Imagine that could be a bit scary.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about that. I'm worried that there's something really wrong with me and I'm not going to be able to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. And maybe there's another side to that too. You might find some things about you that you didn't know that are surprises in a pleasant way too.
Maybe. I never thought of it like that.
Uh-huh. And it could be the other way too. You might discover things that maybe you wished weren't part of you. If that happened, do you think you'd feel free about talking about that in here?
I I think I could. I think I could certainly. I'd be willing to tell you if something wasn't easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
I might need some help though, because I just really, I've never done this before, and I don't really know. Still don't know how to do it the right way.
Right. One of the things we want to do in this session is talk about goals, what you hope to accomplish in this endeavor here. And this is a continuation, as I said, of the assessment process. So, you know, is there one thing that comes to mind that you'd really like to work on in this?
Well, gosh, we talked about so much last week. I think it's hard to choose one thing. But if I had to, I would think I would just like to feel better about myself, less nervous all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself just being nervous about almost everything, about school, about what I'm going to do when I'm out of school, about approaching women, which is really makes me really nervous. So I think I'd like to feel less nervous. I mean, even now I'm nervous. I'd like to feel less nervous now, even.
Right. So this is kind of a sample of how you are out in your real world.
Yes.
Nervous about everything.
Uh-huh.
So we shouldn't be surprised that you're nervous here.
I imagine not, yeah.
But you know, one thing I hope we could do is it might be different. You could talk about that. That's what I hope we would do. You would talk about what's going on for you. Talk about your anxiety.
Mm-hmm. You mean right now, right now, or out there?
Well, in all of our sessions. Whenever you're aware of feeling anxious, I think that would be a good place to talk. And a very good place to begin. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, I could do that.
Mm-hmm. And you said you just like not to be quite so anxious about everything. Mm-hmm. And you listed a whole, you know, we don't have to do it all in one session. We have maybe 12, 13 sessions together. Mm-hmm. So there'll be an opportunity, I think, at different points to take each one of these themes in your life that you're struggling with.
Okay.
So sometimes I think people think, oh my gosh, I have to do everything at once.
So taking it small, kind of little chunks, maybe.
Yeah.
I think I can manage
You know, I think
that.
it's those small steps, particularly if you can initiate those steps, that are going to make a difference in here.
Okay.
Did you have any questions at all about how we work in here, what we'll be doing? Was there anything there that you wanted to ask questions about?
Well, it seems like you kind of answered some of them. I kind of thought that you'd tell me what to do, and I would just go do it. And I hear you telling me that that's not really the way it's going to work.
Well, that would be simple. And sometimes I wished I could, but I don't have those answers that quickly, you know. And even if I did, you know, I think that would be short-sighted in some ways, because then every time you had new problems, you'd have to come back and wait for the answer from me. So I'm hoping what we can do here is that with us talking together, you might see more clearly some things you want to do.
Yeah. Just kind of hard to think that I would be able to come up with something like that. That's all.
Like that?
I haven't been able to do that up till now, and so I don't know how I'm going to do that while we're, you know, with you and me talking.
Right. Yeah. Well, you can always say that even. You can say, I don't know where to go next.
Okay. Might hear that a lot from me then.
That's all right.
Okay.
That's all right. So I just hope you'll talk out loud, too, in these sessions, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think I want to get across the point that this will be a lot of hard work for both of us, that there'll be a lot expected outside of the sessions, too, that you'll need to...
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'll be asking you to think of what you can do when you leave the office each week to kind of further work on what we talk about in here. Sort of like homework.
Okay.
Only we'll devise the homework together.
Okay, good. I can, yeah. I think having something to do will be helpful.
Right. And always a suggestion I'll try to get from you, like what would you like to do more of in your life? Well, we're almost to an end in this session. How has it been to be here today, the second time?
Pretty good. I feel less nervous than I did before when I first came in. Still not so sure about everything, but I'm willing to give it a try.
Yeah. That's good. You'll give it a try. And would you be willing to talk out loud about how that try is working?
Sure.
Yeah, I hope you will be willing to talk about what you're getting or not getting from these sessions, too. I think that would be very important. So if you don't see yourself going the place you'd like to, that's certainly something we could talk about in here.
Okay.
So next week, maybe you could be thinking about what particular issue you'd want to focus in on that day. Okay?
Okay, so come in with something to kind of to talk about for that day?
Because sometimes clients wait and they want me to bring up the topic.
Okay.
And I think it would be a lot more meaningful if you were to come in and say, this is one thing I know I'd like to talk about.
Okay. Well, I know I want to talk about being nervous all the time. That's one thing I definitely know that I want to talk about. So.
Right. And maybe you could even
Start
pay
there.
attention to that throughout the whole week in terms of your nervousness each week in the different situations. And you can certainly talk about your nervousness in here.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll see each other next week then.
Thanks.